Hello everyone, Ryan here, and I'd like to go over a quick illustration of the ways that we've updated our annotations list column. I'm not going to go over how to proof a project. We're just going to look at what we've updated as far as how you indicate pickups in other parts of your project. So we're only going to look at one chapter that Adam recorded right here with this 19 of 19 open. And this is part of our demo packet. You are more than welcome to download this script in these files as well. So inside this proofing, we've made quite a few changes lately over in this left-hand column. First of all, this show and hide option is really neat to get organized quickly. You can use it a bunch of different ways. It's kind of up to you how your workflow moves forward or how creative you want to be with it. Essentially, it gives you the option to show any of these categories or any combination of these categories, or hide any combination of any of these categories. So I just want to hide the pauses. I just want to hide the ones that are typos. I just want to hide the ones that are filtered out. So between these two options right here, you can really get creative about moving through a project, reporting it to different people with your team, or finding out what types of things are going to be on your report. Now, other things that we've updated or worked on with the annotation column, it's always, always, always super important to check the heads and tails of your audio and the chapter that you're working on. I cannot tell you how many times I have missed as an editor or even as a narrator saying the title of a chapter. And that's why we have this first warning here. Please check that the audio starts at the beginning of your chapter. And if you listen right from the beginning, from 00.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short.
See how Adam started right with hello, everyone? The title says annotation examples. Now, this grayed out area means that it has not been narrated. See, these previous parts were from previous pages, but that is the title, and he didn't say the title. And one way you can check what it looks like on the original script is to click this button. And there it is. He definitely should have said annotation examples. So that is why that first button is always there like that. And so you click audio missing, because that is an indicator that right at the beginning, he has to go back in and add that title. The same thing with the end. Please check that the end of the chapter was detected correctly. So
Of your audio file.
Of your audio file should be the end, right? You can go to this PDF. There it is. So that is correct. Really, really important to check those with Pozotron, without Pozotron, making sure that your alignment is set as an editor, as a proofer, with the beginning and end of a chapter, and the narration is super, super important. And that's why we have those pretty much for every chapter. You want to check those almost first, so that's okay. Now, the annotation buttons. One of the things that we detect is long pauses. And there's a few different algorithms, whether it's longer than a second and a half or 2 seconds, depending on where that is in your narration. But right here at 27 seconds in, there's a 3.3 second pause, and you can play back.
When there's a long pause. Because we know
that is for sure too long, so that's when you want to hit the long pause button. Now, for projects that intentionally have long pauses, for meditation projects or things like that, you can say filter out, which means that you know that there's going to be a bunch of long pauses, and you don't want to be told anytime there's a pause shorter than 3.3 seconds. So this is a way of bookending what Pozotron shows you. Now, in this case, I'm going to say this is a long pause. That's definitely a pickup. That's something for the editor to take care of. But realize that when you do have those pause indicators in your project, you can also use the filter out to show how often, what length of pause shows up. Really, really powerful tool. People have been asking for variations on that since we started designing Pozotron. So it works really well as intended, as long as you know how long pause and filter out work. So we're going to go to 36 seconds in. And this we left in to show you that Pozotron is not always right. And this is why proofers are really, really important, that they listen to any indication that Pozotron has.
Detected. If that pause was intentional,
I can definitely tell he's saying pause, right? Pozotron hears horse. So this is okay. This is not, it's just an analysis glitch. This is a false positive. And it's saying, listen to this. Pozotron hears horse. It's supposed to be pause, but it's very obvious that Adam is actually saying pause. So that's when you hit okay. When people have gotten Pozotron reports saying, this is impossible, that, all of these things that are in my report aren't right, no one must have checked these. A person has to check every single one of these before it shows up on a report. So if a person never says, okay, typo, pick up or filter out, just ignores that, that's not going to show up on a report. So you can be confident when you get a Pozotron report that every single thing that shows up on the end report has been gone over by a person. The annotation column and the whole system is set up specifically for that reason. So that's okay. And I can also explain the filter out from here. Say that every time the word pause shows up, Adam says it correctly, but Pozotron thinks it's horse. And there's 50 of them. 50 times that it's pause and Pozotron thinks that the word horse came out. All you have to do is hit filter out, and it says not an error, auto filter all similar references. You might have to hit this 2 or 3 times to make sure that Pozotron understands that every time it hears horse, it's actually pause. But again, when you use it with acronyms or names that are spelled strangely or things like that, 1 or 2 clicks, 2 or 3 clicks on filter out, and it goes through your whole book frontwards and backwards and makes sure that everything that is identical to that is automatically chosen as okay. So, and it says filter out. And it would go through the entire book and say anytime you hear horse, Pozotron, and it's supposed to be pause, that's actually okay. So typo, we've made an update to as well. Now, let's see. Let's say this was a typo right here.
if you believe this is something you can edit out,
say for some reason that got added in and it doesn't make sense. Maybe it said what instead of that. And you're like, okay, well, that's a definite typo. Before, when you clicked typo, it would disappear. Now, when you click typo, it underlines it to indicate that that is something that has been fixed by the narrator. So it shows up in the typo report, and also on this proofing page shows that you have said that it's a typo. Here's another one that's okay.
Proofer can decide if it's a legitimate pickup that needs to be recorded.
He definitely said pickup, so that's okay.
Possible. Pozotron software will attempt to combine the two.
Attempt is the wrong word. That's a pickup.
Software will attempt to combine the two pickups.
So he added the word the. Now, in this case, if you want to indicate that maybe because it's a word inserted that you can edit out, you can click this button and add the word edited or editing. And what that does is it shows up on your main list of pickups, but it also shows up somewhere else. So if you'd like to go through and try and edit it without doing a re-record, that's what the @editing tag is for. So between OK, typo, pickup, filter out, and how you look at the heads and tails of each chapter and how you work with pauses, tons and tons of power using this annotation system. And also, say, for example, say he did this. Actually, let's say there's a noise in the background right here. And so this is now, if it's underlined in orange, it's a custom annotation. and we'll say noise. Now before, it would get a little confusing trying to figure out what was what, especially if you have a long chapter. Now, using this show and hide, you can say just show custom annotations, which is pick up user created. And look at that. Now it's the only one that shows up in this column over here. And say you want to hide, for whatever reason, the custom annotations from your list. Same thing. And now that won't show up over here. So lots of different options, and we're continuously improving that. If you want to know more about how to do the actual proofing process beyond how the buttons work, we have a bunch of tutorials to show you how to do that as well.